Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS Monday Night Football Week 16. Tough Sunday, man. Well, specifically the 1 p.m. window sucked for me. I had the Browns, DTR, man. That offense. I mean, I thought the Bengals defense was bad enough where Cleveland would be able to run the ball. I mean, they still could have covered. They threw a pick in the end zone. They would have covered. I'm not saying I should have won, but I mean, it wasn't a complete blowout. The Bears, I like the Bears bet a lot. Couple fumbles, man, just really. And also they dropped a pick six. Just that game could have looked a lot differently. Caleb was making throws and moving the ball. Sucked. The 1 p.m. window sucked. That being said, the second window, I should have swept the board. And I did make some money back in the second window. I had the Raiders as a top bet. I pushed Seahawks +3. How does that bet push? Oh my God. How did the Seahawks not win that game? Yards per play. The Seahawks were 6.0. The Vikings were 4.8. 6.0 yards per play to 4.8 yards per play. That's indicative of a 10 to 13 point win. That's the difference between 6th in the NFL and 27th in the NFL. 6 yards per play to 4.8 yards per play. I have the home team catching 3, and I push. What? You gotta be kidding me, Gino. And then also, did you see how I lost the Dolphins under? The Dolphins 49ers under? What's his name? Achan takes a 50-yard run. If he slides down, the game's over. He runs it in for no reason to go over the total. I still did make some money back. Like I said, I got the Raiders and I got the I had a full unit on the Bills Patriots under. So I made a few dollars back in the later window. But overall, tough Sunday. The Bucs are now losing. Hopefully they get up and over their team total. Cooper Rush is thrown for like 600 yards tonight. Today sucks. Hopefully you all did better than I did. But yeah, let's talk Monday Night Football. It's not a great game. We're talking Saints, Packers, and Green Bay. Let's do it. Welcome to the SWAS. Hey, get the sauce. All right, like I said, New Orleans is on the road in Green Bay for this one. The Packers are laying 14. I do see a couple 14.5s out there, but for the most part, it's 14. Total's sitting at 42.5 pretty much across the board. Let's take a look at the pie charts, or someone correct me in the comments. These are actually donut charts, not pie charts. And at first, I was going to be a dick to the guy, but then I looked, and he's right. These are donut charts. These are not pie charts. So anyway, let's take a look at the donut charts. And according to the data, over 70% of the tickets coming in on Green Bay, over 75% of the money. As I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's get into the matchup. We'll start with the Saints offense, or what's left of it, against the Green Bay defense. Obviously, Green Bay's got the edge here on this side of the ball. This graphic doesn't really show it. Obviously, as I'm sure you know, Saints are riddled with injuries on this side of the ball. There's no Derek Carr. There's no Rashid Shaheed. There's no Chris Olave. There's no Alvin Kamara. There's no Taysom Hill. Basically, every player on the Saints roster that holds the football is not playing in this game. Also, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is also listed as questionable. So they've got all kinds of problems here on the offensive side of the ball. I will say the offensive line is healthy, and that's huge for the Saints. We saw the night and day difference. If you remember, Saints started off the season, they scored like 40 points a game in those first couple games. Then Eric McCoy got hurt. Then Cesar Ruiz got hurt, the center and the right guard, and the offense couldn't do shit for 4 or 5 games. When they got those two pieces back, we saw the offense come back to life a little bit. They were running the ball a little bit. I mean, with all the skill players out, I'm not sure how much it matters, but the Saints offensive line is healthy. Well, they don't have Ryan Ramczyk, but he's been out all year. Now, we got to be fair to the Saints here. We're talking about the injuries to the Saints offense. We also have to mention that the Packers defense is missing some pieces. Bullard, the nickel, he's going to miss another game. Quay Walker just got hurt last week. He's going to miss this game. Still unclear whether Jair Alexander is going to be back. He's participating in practice, but I mean, he participates in practice and doesn't play all the time. Just because he's participating in practice doesn't mean he's going to play. And also, safety Evan Williams was just added to the injury report, I think on Friday or Saturday. So we don't know if he's going to play either. So the Green Bay defense is by no means healthy. That being said, most of their injury problems are in the secondary. In terms of the defensive front, it's just Quay Walker out. And the reason I'm bringing that up, are the Saints going to be able to run the ball in this game? I mean, in their last 2 games against the Giants and Commanders, 3.4 yards per carry, 81 rushing yards per game. And on top of that, look how lights out the Packers defense has been against the run. In their last 4 games, they're allowing just 3.48 yards per carry, success rate per rush under 29%, under 69 rushing yards allowed per game. So nobody's running the ball in Green Bay right now, not to mention who's going to be carrying the football here for the Saints. Kentre Miller, there's no Taysom Hill, there's no Alvin Kamara, so I don't expect to see the Saints running the ball in this one. And to make matters even worse, the Saints are second in zone run frequency. The reason I'm bringing that up plays into the strength of the Packers defense. They're 8th in yards per carry allowed, 7th in success rate per rush against zone runs. So yeah, Saints aren't going to be able to run the ball in this game, or at least on paper, they shouldn't be able to run the ball in this game. We know football games are not played on paper, but according to the numbers, Saints should really struggle to run the ball in this game, especially with the injuries, which means there's going to be a lot of pressure on Spencer Rattler to produce through the air. And honestly, I don't really know what to think in terms of making a prediction on that. Last week, the Saints passing attack didn't look all that great. They did almost come back and win the game. In the game, though, just 205 yards through the air, 6.6 yards per attempt, average passer rating of 78. Now, some of that is Jake Haener. When Spencer Rattler came in, the Saints passing attack did look better. That being said, it looked better than Jake Haener, but was it good? He was 10 of 21, 135 yards, a touchdown, no picks, an 84 passer rating. So I suppose we do have to say he was better. He was definitely better than Jake Haener, but does that mean he can make throws on the road in Lambeau? I mean, how do we make a prediction here, man? The Packers since week 7, first in zone coverage frequency, first in cover 2. So the second half of the season, they've been running a ton of cover 2. In all honesty, what do we even do with that information? I mean, Spencer Rattler's got pretty awful numbers against zone coverage. 44th in completion percentage, 31st in yards per attempt, 36th in pass rating, 26th in turnover-worthy throw rate. That being said, his numbers against man coverage are just as bad. So, I mean, yeah, he's got awful numbers against zone coverage. He also has numbers against man coverage. So I wouldn't exactly call that finding an angle. Also, his numbers against cover 2, not great, a 63 passer rating, but we're talking about 15 pass attempts here. So what can we even take away from this data? 15 pass attempts, 80 yards doesn't exactly tell us much. And what do we do with this here? The Green Bay pass rush, they're 12th in pressure rate, 9th in adjusted sack rate. They don't blitz, so they're able to generate pressure without sending extra rushers, which is huge. But look at the left side of this graphic. I mean, Spencer Rattler's terrible under pressure. He's also terrible when given a clean box. Doesn't show us anything. He's 39th in pressure to sack rate, 38th in turnover-worthy play rate when pressured. So yeah, I mean, this looks pretty awful for Spencer Rattler here, but his numbers are so bad on the year that everything's going to look awful. He's going to look awful against any defense in the NFL. So I don't know if any of that data necessarily tells us anything. Honestly, all I know is on paper, the Saints should really struggle to move the ball here on the road in Lambeau. But what about the matchup on the other side? We got the Packers offense against the Saints defense. The edge definitely goes to the Packers offense on this side. You probably didn't need me to tell you that. Green Bay's offense, 2nd in yards per play, 15th in success rate. The Saints defense, 28th and 21st. And check this out, bottom left of the graphic. Saints defense particularly terrible against the run. 30th in yards per carry, 30th in success rate per rush. This is one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. The reason I'm bringing this up is that's probably the most surprising thing about Green Bay's offense this year. I think we all expected Jordan Love to regress a little bit in terms of the explosive passing numbers, and we have seen that a little bit, but I mean, Josh Jacobs and the Packers rushing attack is looking good as hell. In their last 7 games, 4.5 yards per carry, over 134 rushing yards per game, over 42% success rate per rush at home against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. To give you an idea of just how bad this Saints run defense is, in the first 2 games, they were allowing just 3.1 yards per carry, 63 rushing yards per game. Since then, they've played 12 football games. They're allowing over 147 rushing yards per game, 5.4 yards per carry. So this Saints defense hasn't been able to stop the run in like 3 months now. The Packers offensive line is completely healthy, and they have a huge edge here in terms of creating space in the run. 13th in adjusted line yards, 22nd in run blocking grade, 9th in yards before contact. The Saints defensive line, 31st, 25th. So the Packers should have no problems creating space in the run game here. On paper, Green Bay should run the ball all over this New Orleans defense, but I'm going to repeat this again. Football games are not played on paper, as we found out in a few games today. But yeah, all I can tell you is what the data shows us, and the Packers should run the ball all over the Saints in this game. But what about the matchup for Aaron Rodgers? Wow. What about the matchup for Jordan Love? The Saints coverages since week 7, 3rd in cover 2 frequency, just like Green Bay. Saints have been running a lot of cover 2 in the second half of the season. Jordan Love's numbers against cover 2, I mean, they're not bad, they're not good, don't really tell us anything. 17th in completion percentage, 11th in yards per attempt, 18th in passer rating. Turnover-worthy throw rate is up, 27th. You don't really like that. And another thing I don't like for Jordan Love is right here. The strength of the Saints defense in terms of passing depth is the deep pass. Well, the intermediate pass. They're first in DVOA against the intermediate pass, 7th against the deep pass. Reason I'm bringing this up is we know Jordan Love loves to throw the ball downfield. 16.9% of his pass attempts are deep passes. He's very efficient throwing the ball downfield. His numbers throwing the ball, the intermediate pass, the short pass, not nearly as good. So I actually don't like that for Jordan Love. The Saints have had success limiting the big throws downfield. One thing I noticed here with the Green Bay offense is, so I isolated the Packers games against top 10 defenses. They've played 6 games this year against top 10 defenses. In those games, 7.4 yards per attempt, over 53% success rate per dropback, 91.4 passer rating. Look at the passing numbers in the other 8 games. You'll notice the efficiency numbers are way up. Yards per attempt, way up. Passer rating, way up. Success rate, way up. Passing yards per game is down. So what this tells me is when Green Bay sees these weaker defenses, they don't rely as much on the pass. They hand the ball off. Could be because they're playing with the lead as well. And considering the Saints are particularly bad against the run, I expect to see a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs. The Packers should be handing the ball off a lot, and I don't think there's a damn thing the Saints can do to stop it. The question is that enough to lay 14 points? If I'm being honest, I have no idea what to bet in this game. My confidence level not very high right now, especially after what happened today. I think I'm just going to take a Saints plus 14.5. Am I telling you to bet it? No. I'm expecting Green Bay to play conservative here, handing the ball off, chewing the clock up, maybe limiting the amount of possessions a little bit. Should make it tougher to cover a 14-point line. I mean, on paper, Green Bay should win this game comfortably. Pretty sure Toast has a trend. I forget what it is. Double-digit underdogs are very profitable in primetime games or Monday night games or some shit. I don't even know. So I'm not betting based on that. I think I'm taking the plus 14.5 because that's the more fun side to bet. I really don't have a lean or anything. Like I said, confidence isn't very high right now, and this is an ugly game. So I'll take Saints plus 14.5, just doing some gambling. Total probably would lean under. But like I said, I really don't have any idea. This game kind of sucks. I'll bring some guests on, as always, 4 p.m. Eastern time. If you're able to make it, we'll go through this game. We'll go through the NBA games, maybe some college basketball. NBA. I've actually won a few NBA bets recently, so maybe something to look forward to after today. Place a couple NBA bets. But yeah, that's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. If you're able to make it, would love to see you in the comments. Hit me up in the Discord if you need me. Let's have ourselves a good one. Remember to bet responsibly.